right, so this morning we're going to talk really about what we're doing at IBM to secure AI models that are out there. But before we do that, let's talk about why this matters in the first place. It would be an incredibly dumb joke for me to say, I don't know if any of you have heard about this revolution in generative AI at this point, so I'm not going to make that awful, terrible dad joke. So instead, we're just going to talk about the fact that these solutions can be as vulnerable as they are valuable to your organization. So a 6 weeks ago, IBM published, the IBM Institute for Business Value published a new study where they discovered and revealed that 64% of the CEOs that are out there are under pressure to get Gen AI out there in their world, whether it be to support their customer base efforts, whether it be to enhance their back office efficiencies or anything along those lines. But 96% of those polled or surveyed say that adopting that generative AI feel like makes that a breach of that data much more likely. And to really roll it all in there, that 64% again identified the security of those AI models as the #1 priority for protecting or in advance of their being able to launch those models or those capabilities. So really, when it comes to AI and security, we really have to talk about two parts. We have to talk about the idea of securing the AI, so security for AI, protecting those foundation models and the usage of them, protecting the model itself, and then protecting the data underneath that's being used to train those models, because a model's no good without any sort of data behind it. So we have to cover all three of those topics when we're talking about introducing Gen AI into the enterprise. Conversely, what if I want to be able to use AI in my security operations, whether it be as part of my offering, if I am, say, an AWS partner and I'm trying to help organizations that are out there, or just internally in my organization, how can I use AI to help increase my efficiencies and find my signal that much faster in my noise? So how can I assist my analysts to get away from performing the same repetitive tasks over and over again? How can I even have them suggest things like new content, new policies, new code that I might need to implement across the board? All right? And then how can I continue to fine-tune those models over time so that they can help me and advance in their ability to create new active responses? So I've got three of these big challenges that I have to deal with when I'm trying to cover both of those use cases. The first one is around the overload of the data that's out there. Large language models and RAG on top of that require, obviously large language requires a large amount of language. Massive amount of data that's out there that needs to be analyzed so that we can build those tokens and start to be able to be useful in our world. So the more data that I have that needs, that has to be accessible to that model for training, the more my attack surface grows. And the more that my attack surface grows, I have to make sure that I am protecting all of that data all the way around. All right? Additionally, I am implementing AI, I am implementing tools around AI, but so are the attackers that are out there. So if I'm not keeping up with the fact that AI makes it easier for me, it also makes it easier for them, then I'm not doing my job all the way around. And then finally, securing that AI is only one part of it. It needs to be governed overall to make sure that the right people have the right access to the right models at the right time in accordance with whatever my organization's policies, procedures, and other governance structure is all the way around there. So we've got really four pieces or ingredients that come with this. Number one, we're going to be leveraging this data across all of the hybrid cloud, right? Obviously, we are here, so we're going to be putting most, if not all of it, in AWS, but that doesn't mean that that's my only choice, and we would be naive to think otherwise, right? We need to make sure that that access is being properly governed all the way across the board so that the same J that I know in my on-premise data center is the J that I'm talking to in Azure and is the J that I am working with in AWS land. Making sure that all of that AI is only being used by people who are properly permitted or allowed to access it for whatever reason. And then keeping up on safeguarding the integrity of that training data underneath and the model itself. So of course we are IBM, so what did we do? We built a framework. So we've got really the three parts of the AI lifecycle in this framework. So how am I going to collect and handle that data so that I can secure it? How am I going to develop and train that model so that I can secure that model? And then how am I going to protect the usage of that model in live usage as well as in inference and fine-tuning and everything else? And then across the bottom of all of that, across the bottom of all of that, I need to secure that infrastructure running wherever it is, and then totally enterprise-wide make sure that I am implementing the right levels of governance all the way around. So, with all of that, Jay, you want to talk to us about at least some part of this framework?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. So, Matt talked about how to secure AI, right? That's a framework for securing AI. I'll dive a little deeper on a couple of these areas, and then I'll switch gears towards how IBM is using AI for security. So that would be the later part of this. And let me get into it. So you have securing the code, securing the models, securing the usage, the infrastructure, all of that. But to get started, you basically need to do three different things, right? So first is ensure that you have a documented strategy. Your organization might be a SaaS user of AI. It might be a PaaS user, as in you're fine-tuning models, building RAG services. You could be a full-fledged, build your own AI model kind of organization, or somewhere in between. But irrespective of the case, you still need a strategy in place that aligns to or takes care of your security controls, compliance, and privacy envelope. And it also needs to make sure that it addresses your risk appetite, right? Depending on what industry you are on, it needs to make sure that it addresses risk appetite. That's first step. Second, like everything else, AI needs security. So Matt talked about it. You need data protection. You need things like firewalls and so on. So I'll talk about it a little bit on the next slide. So you need protection technologies to secure your model and secure the usage of those AI technologies. And then third is obviously threat detection and response, right? So it is better that you hack your own models, test it, rather than a hacker doing it for you, right? So adversarial testing is a big thing. So getting that done so that you're protected against prompt injection, poisoning, leakage, and all of those stuff. And then you're also detecting some of those threat events and telemetry that comes out of the protection tools. So those are some of the key things that you would do as a strategy for securing AI. Let me talk about, what is IBM and some of its partners doing in this space, right? So first, AI firewalls. I'm sure you've heard of these, right? So these are layers that actually look at what prompts are going in and what responses are coming out. So it's a bidirectional system which is looking at whether are you leaking data. Is the AI model suddenly sending you SSN numbers? Is it stuck in a prompt injection loop? Those are the kind of things it looks for. Now this technology is itself built on AI, so it's not like you are hard coding these elements, but these are some of the newer technologies. Model scanning. A lot of the models that are available today are from third-party systems, right? So you download it from Hugging Face or one of those Face or one of those platforms. So these come with third-party risks, right? Supply chain issues. You need to know your bill of material that's going into your AI systems and AI applications. So model scanning is important because you want to know that your model is safe and not being tampered with, right? Runtime monitoring. I spoke about threat detection. That's your runtime monitoring. And then deep fakes. Now, you might think deep fakes is a social media problem, but it is not. With enough, performance improvements in AI, it might start actually competing against your biometric, identification, fingerprints, facial recognition, all of those. So deep fakes, identifying them and dealing with them is a key step as well. So these are some of the tools that are available in the market and technologies that we are using with our partners to provide solutions. So let's switch gears here. What is IBM doing with AI for security? How are we using it for cybersecurity? So I'll give you 3 examples, and there are more, but I'll give you 3 examples. First is, using generative AI as a chatbot and as an AI system that can actually help you build self-service for things like, hey, give me access to this application. So think about it as identity governance, right? So you're talking to a chatbot, you're asking it to do stuff. The AI is trained behind to look at how you've provided access over a period of time as an organization and uses that data to determine the accurate role that is needed for that person. So that is something that's the thing that's coming out of the Gen AI system. The other case is compliance walkthroughs, right? So you have crosswalks, as they call it, right? Building a compliance framework based on the applicable legal regulations for your industry. That's another area. Third is taking analytics and matrices that you are capturing from various systems and giving you insights. So it is generating the insights behind what you're seeing. And that might be so much more effective than showing an executive dashboard where there are hundreds of little things on the widgets, right? So having insights is key. So that's another thing that we're coming up with. But the thing that I'm most excited about is the solution that we are co-developing with AWS, which I think is going to be a groundbreaking piece of technology. So we are actually coming out with a service along with AWS. It's right now in an alpha stage. It will be available by the end of the year. So you'll see it in reInvent most likely. Instead of talking about it, let me just give you the scenario, right? Imagine that you have a Gen AI system that is able to deploy or generate detailed controls based on your compliance requirements, industry context, regions, locations, all for AWS cloud environment. It is able to generate these controls using native AWS scripting technologies like CloudFormation templates. It is able to deploy these into your AWS environment, and then it is also able to identify drifts against these these benchmarks, and then take corrective measures. So essentially, okay. So that's basically what we have here. So we have Skynet. Just kidding. So we have a less imaginative name here. We are calling it Autonomous Security and Compliance, or ASC. The way it would work is IBM is actually building training the model. We are going to use compliance standards, AWS formation scripts and other things that go into this model. This model will also be supported by what are called as retrieval augmented generation applications that would be built by us. And what will happen is we will as a part of the pipeline, as we develop this AI model, as we test it, as it gets ready, we would deploy it in our customer's environment. All of this operates on AWS Bedrock, which is the native AWS Gen AI platform. And it would run on the customer's Bedrock platform, where it would be supported by the RAG apps to take in customers' context in the form of policies, standards, their security requirements, etc. And then it would generate one, the CloudFormation scripts. Two, it will look at the intel coming out of their cloud-native tools like AWS Config, Security Hub, Guard Duty, etc. And then it would take remedial actions. Okay, so that's basically an AI-generated system that actually manages all of this. Obviously, we will not be creating this and deploying it at a customer environment and switching it on, because that could create a lot of issues for the customer, right? Because if it goes ahead and does something that the customer had explicitly exempted or whatever, we need to make sure that it handles all of that. So along with this would be a service which would come from us to make sure that we are able to bring the evolution that is required for the customer to slowly move from initially monitoring to later on active deployment and so on. And also fine-tune the models from what we are learning from the customer end. So all of that goes in a recursive loop, and we fine-tune our models, they get released back, and they get better at doing this stuff. So that's essentially the service I was to announce today, ASC. And finally, these are various services that IBM can help you with from our services. And I know we do have some time if there are any immediate questions. Otherwise, we can take more questions at our booth, which is a couple of booths across, 121. And I think we have a few gift cards from AWS to raffle as well. So we'll be running the raffle over today and tomorrow. Please join us there. That's it. Thank you so much.
So as you're on your way to lunch, feel free to stop by the IBM booth. We are on the other side of that wall right there. You can't miss us as you're going by. Talk to Jay about what we're doing in services. You can talk to me about what we're building around using AI and securing AI from a product perspective. And we'll look forward to talking to you and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.